And we are live. A very good evening and welcome to another episode of Magic Connections. My name is Andrew Lee, and it's so great to be back here again this week, tuning in from my home to yours. I hope every one of you guys have been well and safe during this time. How have you guys been? Do let us know in the comments below. Now, on this week's show, we do not have any local magicians, but I have two very special friends who will be joining us today. They are none other than Jeremy Tan from Singapore and Jeffrey Tan from the Philippines. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and welcome Jeremy Tan and Jeffrey. Hey guys.
Yeah. Hi guys. Good evening. Welcome
Hello,
to
hello.
Andrew Lee Live. And
Yeah,
tonight,
guys.
Thank
So
you
we
for
just
having us.
what?
and
Thank you
let
for
us
having
know
us,
as well if
Andrew.
you guys
Yeah.
can actually hear us. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, for doing this with me as well. Now that we have three guys from different countries. We got Philippines. We got Singapore. We got even Malaysia. So we're going all around
Yeah.
Asia at this moment.
And tonight, I am sure all the viewers right now are so excited to watch this episode because I believe tonight we have a very special guest. Yeah.
Mhm. Yes.
And this is not just an ordinary magician, right?
Yeah. So, in fact, while you guys are watching, let us know in the comments below as well if you guys can actually hear us, because this is actually the first time we're actually doing this on Zoom, on a Zoom platform. And yeah, let us know.
Yeah, and then if you guys have any questions, just type it in. If you guys have any questions for us, for Jeremy and for Andrew, and then type it in.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, you know what, guys? Shall we introduce our guest for the night today?
Yeah.
Yes, I think everybody's waiting to to see our guests.
Yeah.
All right, man. So, guys, our guest for the night needs no introduction. He is the co-founder of Siri Inc. and formerly a director of engineering in the iPhone group at Apple. He is
Wow.
also a co-founding member of three other successful startups, including Change.org, the world's largest petition platform, Viv Labs, which is Samsung, and Sentient. In addition to his technological work, Adam Cheyer is also an award-winning magician who has performed in stadiums for thousands and
Wow.
in TV of millions, and is also seen on Penn and Teller Fullers. Please
Actually,
welcome
I saw his performance on Penn and Teller. It was so
Adam
amazing.
Cheyer.
It was amazing.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, Adam Cheyer. Hey, Adam.
Good evening.
Great to see you guys.
Hi, Adam.
Hey, Adam. So good to have you joining us here on the show today. How have you been?
Thank you.
How's things in California right now?
Pretty well. I mean, everyone is more or less locked down. Things were getting a little bit better, so it started opening up. Things are now getting a little worse, so we're starting to lock down. But I'm a computer scientist and a magician, so we're very good at sitting in our house and not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, Adam, tell us about the development of Siri and what came to mind when you created it.
Yeah. So it's a funny story. I mean, for many people, Siri came out of nowhere, right? All of a sudden, Apple launched it. It was a big secret, and it seems like just an overnight success.
Yeah.
But the true story is that I've been working on Siri and Siri license 27 years, more than half my life. And so my
Wow.
first version of Siri was in 1993, before I ever saw a web browser. And so I said, someday there'll be content and services around the world that we want to access. I never thought about hyperlinks and multimedia document. I thought everyone would have an assistant. You could say, I want to know this, or I want to do that. And the assistant would go to the right machines around the world, gather the results, present them to the user, learn from the interactions, and help the user get the job done. So my first version was in 1993, and I made version after version after version. And eventually, we started a company to do this. And that's starting to be the software everyone knows.
Wow. Who thought of the
Wow.
name Siri?
Oh, that's a great question. So,
Yeah. You can name it like
so we
Susan,
started,
like Sarah. Why Siri?
so Microsoft had done a product called Bob. We go, we can do better than Microsoft Bob. So we wanted it.
Sorry, you were saying Microsoft has a version called Bob. I've never heard of Bob though.
They did. It didn't do very well. It was in like the 90s or something. But for Siri, we wanted a short name that people could pronounce, not too hard to spell. And
Yeah.
so we made a list of possible names. And everyone in our team liked Siri the best, but for different reasons. So the official meaning comes from our CEO. He's the CEO, so he gets the official meaning. Siri in Norwegian means beautiful woman who will lead you to victory. So
Wow.
Oh.
That's
it's
cool.
a Norse god kind of metaphor. But for me, and this has a kind of a magic connection, in Swahili, Siri means secret. And a secret is something I know that no one else has figured out yet, like a magic trick, like the secret to a magic trick. So for me, when Siri was being created, Siri means secret. It's like a magic trick that we're bringing to the world.
So, I mean, of course, you've created a lot of tricks using Siri as well, yes?
So you combine technology and magic.
To me, magic and technology are very much the same, and magic and entrepreneurship are the same. If you think about it, what does a magician do? A magician has to imagine an impossible future, right? Something that doesn't exist, like flying or teleporting, whatever it is. They imagine something that's impossible, but then a magician works backwards from that dream to make it real. They find ways to make something impossible happen. And an entrepreneur does exactly the same thing. I said, what if you could have this assistant that you could just talk to it like a conversation, and you could ask any question or do any functionality? What would that be like? Now, with that magic trick, that magic idea that doesn't exist, what's the software, what's the mathematics to make it come true? And so that's what I think entrepreneurs and magicians, and you need to be able to present your idea in a compelling way. If you're an entrepreneur trying to raise money or get customers, you need to present the idea in a compelling way. So for me, a magician and an entrepreneur are very much the same.
Wow.
Back in 1993, how different is it for this assistant that you have back in 1993 compared to what Siri is today? Were your goals and your foresight exactly how you see it in the world today?
Excellent question. Thank you, Jeremy. There's a video I've done. I'll send you a link later and you can post it for your readers. It's a long technical video, about an hour.
Yeah.
But it's called Siri Back to the Future.
Wow.
So they can look at it. And so here's what, in this video, I tell a story. I say on October 4th, 2011, Apple launched Siri and the whole world changed. And the very next day, October 5th, 2011, Steve Jobs died.
Wow.
So actually, here's something I don't talk about very often, but I'll tell your audience. Steve Jobs' assistant contacted me last year and said, I have some information I wanted to tell you for many years, but I didn't know how to reach you. Steve Jobs was clinging to life to see the launch of Siri. He cared about it that much. So the Siri that came out on the iPhone is wonderful. It's great. I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
But I say, if you think that was good, let me tell you about the version that came out in 2010. That was so amazing. We launched it as a free app in the App Store. It was one of 2 million apps. And 2 weeks later, Steve Jobs called our office unannounced. He's like, hey, it's Steve. What you doing? Come over to my house tomorrow. So that version was much more advanced in some ways than the version that came out on the iPhone. And then the next
Wow.
part of the story is, well, if you think the 2010 version was great, you should see the 2007 version we used to raise money. It did so many things that we never made it into the 2010 version. It's very advanced in many ways. And so I tell a story that in 2011, 2010, 2007, 2003, 1999, 1993, each version you get to is more advanced in some way, meaning there was functionality that never made it into any other version.
Wow.
So then the punchline of the story, of the presentation, is that in 1987, Apple came out with a concept video. All of the other ones that I showed you, 1999, 1993, were real systems. But in 1987, Apple imagined, like a magician, they imagined the future. And they made a video, kind of a science fiction video of what the future would be like. And in this video, in 87, there was like a little iPad-like device. There was the internet with multimedia. There was shared conferencing like we're doing now. And there was an assistant you could talk to. And the punchline is that video of 87 was set in the future. And if you look carefully, you can figure out what day they chose to make it in the future, because there's a calendar. There's a calendar on the deck with a month, and there's a reference to a year. And so you're doing this time travel, going back in time, to arrive in 1987, and then you say, well, what day is it in this video? And you spiral all the way back, because the 1987 video was within 2 weeks of the real launch of Siri in 2011. And so it's a time travel trick, but it has an answer to your question of, was the Siri of 2011 or the Siri of today everything that I imagined? The answer is no. And I made another version with Viv Labs and Samsung. It's another piece. But there are so many ideas from each version that never made it into the versions we have commercially. So this video would be interesting for people who want to know about technology. What else can Siri be? Here are 10 different versions of Siri that are all more, in some way, than the Siri we have today.
When you guys creating Siri, was your first choice a female voice, or you had this option like, oh, we should use a male voice for this?
Yeah, that's a great question. I heard you doing your voiceover earlier.
Yeah, because I also do voiceovers here in the Philippines.
So here's the story. When Siri came out, it came out in about 4 or 5 different countries. Japan, US, UK, Australia, and a few languages, a few countries.
Yeah.
And in the US, the voice was female. But in the UK and in Australia, it was a male voice only. But Siri, when you ask Siri, are you male or female? It says something like, animals and French nouns have gender. I do not, right? So we designed Siri not to be male, not to be female, but it needs a voice. The first versions of Siri were male voice. And then when it came out, Apple said, oh, maybe we should have both voices in every language so people can choose. So they designed new voices. And I tell the story, many people don't know. For every country now, there's a rich voice and a famous voice.
Wow.
And so what does that mean? Well, the very first person who voiced Siri was named Susan Bennett in the United States. And she goes around and says, I'm the voice of Siri. But she's the famous Susan, the famous Siri voice. But she didn't get paid any extra money for being the voice of Siri. Apple just bought a voice. She had done the voice work for it, but she didn't know that Siri was going to use her voice, and Apple didn't know that she was voice from Siri. They just bought a product that many other products use. So she didn't make any money from it, but she can now say publicly she's the voice of Siri. But then, for every language in every country, Apple developed their own voices. And I joke, I don't know how much, what it's true, but they wanted a voice that is in no other product. Like the first voice of Siri, Susan Bennett, she was in Siri, but she was in the Ford Sync. She was in the Delta Airlines. There's a number of products that use the same voice. So Apple wanted a voice that no one else has. So for each language, they said, we will pay you. You can no longer be a voice actor for any other product, only for us. So I figured they must have paid a lot of money to take a picture and say, you can never work again for anyone else, but you can't tell anyone who you are. So for every language, there's the first one, the famous one, and then there's probably the rich one that you'll never know the name of. So
Nigel Quinn said a Jeffrey Tam Siri would be awesome.
Yes. Jeffrey, would you like to be the famous voice or the rich voice?
Any.
It can be any voice. Jeffrey,
I
don't can be any
recognize your question.
So, Adam, what was the version that you did? You did Fool Us as well, and what was the version of Siri you did on that show?
Oh yes. So when I went on Fool Us, I really had to think, what kind of magician do I want to be? What kind of persona? Why am I doing magic? Right? I think every magician needs to ask themselves that question.
Yeah.
And so for me, I decided I want to be a teacher first. So many times, most of the time when I perform magic, I want to entertain everyone, but I want there for a few people in the audience who are watching to take something, a lesson that they can use in their life. So I'm using magic, instead of teaching using video or books, I want to teach using magic. So here's the story. When you're an entrepreneur and you say, okay, I've got an idea, and I want to start a company, it needs to be magical. You should create a prototype so you can show it to your investors. But here's the important lesson. You need to say why your idea is better than what people have today. And so and this is a true story. When we went to Siri, we went to venture capitalists.
Yeah.
And the iPhone had just come out. This was 2007. So everyone had an iPhone. They had Google. They're like, I don't need anything else. Why do I need another way to interact with information? So we proved to the VCs that Siri was better. And how did we do it? Our CEO walked into the room. He threw down a couple $100. He says, I have one question. If you can answer it in 5 minutes or less, you can have all my money. So I've got my iPhone. I've got apps. I've got Google. I've got the web. And then we asked one question, and they're like, I can't do that in half an hour. I can't do it in half an hour with Google, with the web, with apps.
Yeah.
We pulled out Siri, and in 30 seconds solved the problem.
Wow.
So showing the entrepreneurs with the best commercial technology available, Siri is better. And so when I went on to Fool Us, I wanted to tell that story, but using magic. And so I did it with cards. Would you like to actually see it? Do you want me to do the trick live for you?
Yeah.
Do you want to? Oh, okay, yeah, sure, why not?
Yeah.
Can do it live.
Really?
They can go see it. Sure. So the idea is, so my Siri is going to be better than Google, and I said in 3 ways. Number one, when you type in, keywords into a search engine, you just get back links.
Yeah.
With Siri, I want it to answer the question.
Right away.
Right away, directly.
Yeah.
Number two, I want to refine it like a conversation, just like we're talking. I want to be able to say, Siri, how about tomorrow? What about the next day? Because you can't do that with a search engine. And number three, I want to be able to do multiple tasks at the same time. dinner and a movie too, because you have to go back and forth and look at dinner and then look at the movie times and try to figure out which one's fit. So solving multiple tasks at the same time. So I created Siri, and here's the first prototype that I made. I carry it around in a little box.
Wow.
Yeah, I'll show you. So the first thing, switch views. Let's put it like this. So I want you to be able to see all the cards, and they're all different, right?
Yeah.
And they're all mixed. We're mixing them because I don't want you to say later, oh, he had them in some special order. Mixed. Now, cards are all different. What I want you guys to do, I'm going to put it into view here. What I want you to do is you're going to choose a card, and we'll do it by, I'll move my finger wherever you like, and one of you can just say stop.
How about
Do
Jeremy?
the honor,
Say
Andrew.
stop. Oh, okay. Sure. Stop.
Here. Now, I want to get the exact card you're talking about somewhere in here. Is it this one, this one, this one? You just tell me stop.
Stop.
Okay. We'll actually take out, we'll take out two cards. Now, I'll say this one's for Andrew and maybe this one's for Jeffrey. Now, Andrew, I don't know which card you chose. It could have been any of these cards. You don't even know which card you chose. So let's have theory. Here's how it works. If you notice, on the back of every card, there's a little button. So I can just push it and go like this. No, I'm just kidding. But what I can do natural language understanding, so I can type the questions. So your card, Andrew, could be a black card or a red card. So let's ask Siri. Siri, what color is Andrew's card? Color. So if I type COLOR, Siri says the card you chose is black. Maybe 50-50. What would be more impressive is if I could guess what number it is. It could be a 6, a 10. So let's ask Siri. Number, N-U-M-B-E-R, number. Siri says you chose a queen, a black queen. And you chose any card from a shuffle deck. Could be anything. Now, if it's black, it could be clubs or it could be spades. So maybe it's spades. Spades, S-P-A-D-E-S. Siri says, no, the card you chose was clubs. Now, every card in the deck has exactly one match. So if you choose, if Siri says you chose the black queen of clubs, the match, the M-A-T-C-H, would be the other black queen, the black queen of spades.
Wow.
And that means, Andy, the card you chose the deck.
Wow.
And I picked any card.
Nicely done.
Thank you. So as you see, I like to do magic where I can tell a story. So this is a true story that really happened. Of course, I didn't use cards. We had software.
Yeah.
But the idea of teaching people that this is the, why is it better than the competition? That's something we really had to do for real. And that's something every entrepreneur has to do for real. Yeah.
Nice. Very
Anyway,
nice routine.
That was
Cool.
basically the idea of the trip that I performed on Foolish.
So you are a magician and you are also the co-founder of Siri. And how do they come together in the sense that which one started first? How do you juggle your time as a magician and a software engineer and Oh,
interesting. So they actually started at almost the same time. So I got into magic when I was, a boy. I guess I got into magic first when I was 10 to 14, something like that. And then I, like many, I decided to do other things. So I kind of stopped magic. This was a long time ago in the 70s or something, maybe early 80s. And around that time, I became interested in computers. So it almost felt like computers were invented just for me. And with computers, I could build anything that I could dream. So it was like the perfect, with software, you imagine something and you can make it come true. Anything is possible. So then I did computers for many, many years. I was always interested in artificial intelligence from the very first.
Nice.
Wow.
And the first program I ever wrote was a program to solve Rubik's Cube when I was 14.
Oh my God.
Rubik's
14
Cube
years
was-
old.
Yeah, 14. And
14. Wow.
I was a Rubik's Cube champion in 1981.
Oh.
So I loved Rubik's Cube, and then said, oh, now I have computers, I can build anything. Then I left magic for 35 years. And what got me into it was a few things. My first girlfriend, actually, and assistant in magic,
Was
grew
named
up and
Siri?
married a very famous. No. good
Oh
question.
no! I heard about it, but I didn't know she was your girlfriend.
Yeah. Well, we're 14. It wasn't much of a
Wow. That's such a small world. Wow.
She grew up and married a famous magician, Jeff McBride, who I think you had on the show.
Oh.
Yeah. So Abigail was your assistant then,
Yeah. So I was the first.
and also
to
your
kind of
girlfriend.
introduce her to magic. And,
Wow.
And then, so I connected with Jeff and Abby, and they were coming to Magic Castle. I go, Magic Castle. It was always, when I was a boy, it was like a dream, magic mystery place. Magic Castle sounded so wonderful, and I would read about it in magazines. So I went to see Jeff McBride and Abby perform at Magic Castle. But to get ready for that, I said, I wonder what's happened in magic in the last 35 years. And I found out the internet was available, and I typed in magic in the internet. And I came across a video that really changed my life. It was Shin Lim when he performed his the first 52 Shades act when he was traveling through Asia.
Oh
and I
wow.
saw his act, and I had never seen anything like that in magic in the 70s or 80s. It was so visual, so beautiful. And so I found that video preparing to go see Jeff and Abby perform at Magic Castle. I found out that Shin Lim was going to perform in FISM. So I know you guys are FISM winners, so I go, what's FISM? And at the time, it was 2015, Rimini was FISM, and Shin Lim was going to go compete.
Yeah, that's the time that he won. That was the time that he won first place.
Kind of tied for second, but yes, he did win first place. But
Yeah.
that year there was a big kind of scandal. In that there was another magician who actually was awarded first place.
Oh.
And disqualified.
Wow.
Because
Wow.
there was a timer malfunction. So Woody Aragon did an incredible act. I mean, I love Shin Lim. I think he's the best. And I hired him for one of my fundraising parties recently. I only choose the best magicians in the world. My favorite magicians. I think it's incredible. But that year, Woody Aragon did an incredible performance. But there was timer malfunction, and he went over the 9-minute limit by like 4 seconds. And he was disqualified, then reinstated. The judges said, no, it was our fault with the malfunction. You're reinstated and you're in first place. But then the president of FISM overruled the judging panel, and they said, no, you're disqualified again. And
Was
so,
it Domenico Dante?
I don't know who. I didn't know the time.
Yeah,
But,
I think it was Domenico Dante, the president of the FISM.
so it was a big, not scandal, but it was a big thing. Magicians were talking about, should he or shouldn't he be in or accepted? He would have won first place. And he ended up saying, look, I want the respect of my peers more than any trophy. We have rules, we have to abide them. I went over Shin Lim, and actually Shin Lim and Horit Wu tied for first place or second place, depending on how you're counting. So I took my family to FISM, not really a magician. I mean, I hadn't done magic for 35 years. I went with my son, who was 15 years old, and FISM, as you guys know, it's mind-blowing. We spent
it is the holy grail of all magicians in the world. Adam, here's the last question from Bui Yen. Tell us about change.org and what inspired you to develop it, and how was the thought process while putting it together?
Sure, great question, thank you. So in 2004, for me, it was the 10th anniversary of the web, and I made 10 predictions for the next 10 years. And you can probably go online and find what were my predictions, because in 2014, I stood on stage and I said, I'm going to show you the presentation I made 10 years ago and score how I did. Some of my predictions were good, some of them were not so good. And my best 3 predictions, I turned directly into companies. So Siri, Sentient, and Change.org. My prediction in 2004 was that I predicted that social networking was going to go mainstream. And I'm telling you, in 2004, this seemed crazy. Facebook was just starting, but it was a tiny thing. I had never heard of it in a university. LinkedIn existed, but it was very niche. So I said that it'll be, we'll go big. And so 2 years later, in 2006, MySpace became the #1 website in the US by traffic. And the next year, 2007, Facebook now was starting to be really, really, really big. So my idea, I met Ben Rapp, we said we need to build a social network for social activism. And my role was, I'm like, well, I can build things really well. I know software. So he was the CEO. I was the first and only other employee. I built the first version of Change.org and then brought in a number of my friends to help evolve it. Over time, we tried so many different things. So we did not start out saying, I know it's going to be a petition platform. We tried everything. But everything around how can we change the world using social networks. We had a gifting platform. We tried many things, but we were very good at instrumenting the data, watching what users liked, what did they do on the site that we put up. And petitions became more and more important. So we removed other features. We made it more and more, central to the theme. And today, Change.org is the world's largest petition platform with more than 350 million members. Every day there are victories. So here's how it works. If you see something wrong in your life, big or small, it could be you're mad at your school library, or it could be you want to solve global warming or something like that. You can start a petition, but your petition needs 3 elements. You need to say, I want this person or this organization to make this change specific, and here's why. And so you write that, and millions can view it, and if they click on it, this shines a spotlight on an issue and a solution. So that if all of a sudden a few 100,000 people are saying you should do something, you don't necessarily do it, but you usually have to at least respond to it publicly and get into a discussion about it. And so by isolating problems, a solution, and then bringing a spotlight on that problem and solution, every day victories, big and small, that impact people all over the world happen. So please, if you're not a member of Change.org, I encourage you to go and sign up. You can make a real difference in 10 seconds just by clicking on things that you believe in. And And you can make a difference in maybe a couple minutes by writing a good petition saying this person or this organization should make this change in this law.
Wow.
Thank you.
So how does it actually work? So I mean, of course, like each petition has like a quota. Like you need to reach a certain amount of petitions in order for a change to happen. So once they reach that goal, where does it go to, and how does it generate change in that sense?
Yeah, so there is no quota. Some petitions get 25,000 signatures or clicks. Some petitions get millions and millions of clicks. So it's not like there's a quota. But the issue is, and there are many, many petitions happening every day. But the way it works is it's really a kind of a new form of media. So news, like change.org, issues from change.org are mentioned every single day on multiple news stories, because news people want to say, hey, there's this problem. So, maybe it's about racial issues. There was a boy named Trayvon Martin who was killed in Florida, and his killer was walking around without a trial. He said it was self-defense. Trayvon's mom went on change.org and said, I want a trial just to see, is this person guilty or not guilty? I want a trial. It would never have happened if millions of people hadn't clicked on that petition, and it became part of the media. It became a story.
Wow.
And now someone had to respond. There was when Bank of America, when we had the financial crisis in 2009, U.S. government bailed out many of the financial institutions. There was a 22-year-old nanny named Molly Catchpole who got angry at Bank of America for wanting to charge a new $5 fee. She said, you just used my taxes to bail out yourself, and now you're charging me an extra fee to get my own money. Became a huge, she started a petition, people started clicking, media picked up on it, more people started clicking. Now, is angry about this thing. Bank of America says, okay, no more fee. So it's really just trying to shine a spotlight on issues and solutions.
Right.
And so some of them go nowhere, right? It just doesn't get enough traction. But some of them get traction. And when you get people talking about it, I was at Apple, and there's this funny story around supply chain. Is Apple using underage workers in their Chinese supply chain? Well, it turned out it started because a fiction play called The Agony and Ecstasy of Steve Jobs. He just talked about this, but it wasn't real. It was a play. And the author was reading this on a new radio station. People heard it, thought it was real, got angry about it, and started a petition. And all of a sudden it blew up into a huge national thing. Apple had to actually respond and say, well, here's what we do in supply chain. And we do these tests and we do checks and we don't use, but supply chain is very complicated. But it became a topic, even though the original part was just like a fictional play that came out in the end and all went away. But it was funny. People said, well, you're working at Apple, but you started change.org, and change.org is now mad at Apple. A petition. How do you feel? And I'm like, it's great. I go, it's great. I believe Apple's doing the right thing. I believe Tim Cook. But if he's not, absolutely someone should be able to raise a message to hold Apple or anyone accountable. And so it really is, that's the idea of change.org.
Wow, nice.
Very, very cool. So yeah, thank you so much, Adam, for taking the time to share with us, about your inventions, your stories about Fullers, and of course, all that you've done for our day and age at this moment.
And thank you for waking up early for us, because I know it's like 6 a.m. there in California.
I'm always happy to get up and talk to you guys. Really pleasure and honor to me.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, Jeremy, Jeffrey, thank you for joining on the show as well. Do you guys have anything else
Thank you for
that you
having
guys
us.
want
Yeah,
to
no
add as
problem.
well?
Anytime, Andrew. Anytime.
Well, thank you guys. Well, that's all from us today, guys. I hope you guys enjoy yourself. I hope you take
Yes.
something back from today's session as well. We'll see you guys in the next one.